am delighted to be here, and I'm particularly delighted to be here on this occasion.
September the 12th, 1962, John F. Kennedy made a speech at Rice University saying, "We will land a man on the moon this decade."
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
I remember that day, I remember that speech.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
I never in a million years imagined that I would be part of that team that put a man on the moon.
Boy, look at that. Neat.
Yeah, but look at this airplane. That's what I'd like to make.
But you can't work for NASA if you're going to build airplanes.
Well, they do other things, too.
Like what?
You work for NASA?
I was in charge of the lunar module. 1968.
10, 9, ignition sequence start.
Which was a year before we landed on the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. It has a stark beauty all around.
Found out that the Kennedy Space Center was hiring engineers, and I went down there and interviewed, and they offered me a job. And I got a great job down there, what they call a systems engineer in spacecraft operations. I loved the work. It was fun, but I was new, and I wasn't in the program when everything was getting designed, so I wasn't real smart about what the hardware was or how it worked and all, but I did okay. When you work for the government, you're on a GS scale. I was started as a GS7, and you can go up to a GS13 in engineering. If you wanted to get any higher, you had to go into management. And they had an opening while they were building the shuttle.
The program usually presented at this time will not be seen today, so that we may bring you the following special program.
They took off 30 minutes ago, a 747 airplane, and clamped onto its back America's first space shuttle, the Enterprise.
Me and another engineer in our office volunteered to go out there, and that's near Edwards Air Force Base.
Edwards, cleared for takeoff.
We stayed out there for a year and a half. Took the whole family out there, and when we were coming into Lancaster, which is right next to Edwards Air Force Base, it was all desert, and and my wife looked over there and she just started crying. She didn't like it. She said, what is this? When that was over, I came back. I was on what they call TDY, temporary duty. And we came back to Titusville, Florida, which is just west of the Kennedy Space Center.
And a concurrence from the launch director to proceed.
They had 4 flow directors for each orbiter, and I was Columbia's flow director, and that was a great job. We would meet at 9 o'clock every morning and go over what we scheduled to the 15-minute time thing, every job. And it was a tough job, and you had to know who you could trust and who wasn't just giving you a bunch of BS about doing something, because the engineers would want to do it, When I was a systems engineer, I was outside watching it because my job was done, and we have what we call a launch control center. I was in the firing room when we launched. but I was looking at my system, which was an auxiliary power unit.
TLS is go for orbiter APU start.
TLT OTC, perform APU start.
I was there during Challenger.
After a weekend at Camp David, President Reagan was back campaigning today. The highlight of that trip, however, was an announcement that the first citizen passenger aboard the space shuttle will be a teacher.
It's long been a goal of our space shuttle, the program to someday carry citizen passengers into space. Today, I'm directing NASA to choose as the first citizen passenger in the history of our space program, one of America's finest, a teacher.
We have what we call a L-1, launch -1 day, get together in a big room.
And then we have Commander Dick Scobie sitting beside pilot Mike Smith.
First off, we weren't in the same room with them normally.
Judy Resnick on the left, mission specialist, along with Ron McNair, and payload specialist, Greg Jarvis.
Because they didn't want to give them a cold or catch the measles or whatever. But this time, the phone system was busted. So they came to our big conference room, and each system had to tell the astronauts if there was any delta from normal.
The CHD performing a launch status check at this time. All systems verify radar, resume count, and go for launch.
Houston flight is go.
Pilot go.
You keep a record of everything you do. You have a logbook. And after we went through our spiel to tell them what was going on, when Krista McCauley, and she was walking about a foot off the floor. She was so happy and smiling and excited. I walked up to her and said, do you have time to sign my logbook? And she said, sure. And she put down to Bascom, reach for the stars. The only person I ever talked to the day before launch, astronaut. And you know what happened. That day before Challenger, the temperatures were in the 30s.
The CHD performing a launch status check at this time.
Weather at this time looks good, and the temperature at the launch pad right now is 24 degrees.
Throughout the morning, engineers expressed concern because the shuttles had never launched in such extreme conditions.
There was icicles all over the pad.
However, at 11:38 a.m., Challenger was cleared for launch.
The CHD performing a launch status check at this time. All systems verify radar, resume count, and go for launch. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff confirmed. Liftoff. Challenger, roll program. Roger, roll, Challenger. Good roll, flight. Raj, good roll. 3 at 65. 65, Fido. TDL confirms throttle. Thank you. Challenger, go with throttle up. Challenger, go with throttle up. Fido, trajectory. Go ahead. Flight GC, we've had negative contact, lost the downlink. Okay, all operators, watch your data carefully. Flight Fido, go ahead. RSO reports vehicle exploded. Okay, everybody, stay off the telephones. Make sure you maintain all your data. Start pulling it together.
That's the worst day of my life, and I still think about it.